I got the straight. I Hey, you come on over to Geek Homeworld if you want. I'm doing a after show. Yeah. Yes. Do what? Yeah, right now. Yeah. You'll see me Saturday and Sunday. I won't be there tomorrow. I won't be there Friday, but we'll be there Saturday and Sunday. Sweet. You should. You should. We're gonna have fun. It'd be fun just to hang out. Yeah, I wish you could be there too. All right. Yeah, already got it running. Oh, I'm on two. Yeah. All right, later, dudes. Waiting for everybody to come into the after party. Profits. Welcome, sir.
Man, I gotta say that was some crazy shit, man. The AI like really is watching.
That is wild, man. I was like, I didn't mean to go off on that tangent there, but that got kind of crazy, man. That's wild. Well, I wonder if anybody else is coming over. You heard from
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will.
you heard from M3 any? I think he showed up in Kaz's chat.
No, I haven't talked to M3 in a while.
Okay.
I did, however, just finish the slides
Oh,
for the
for
show.
89.
So I've got the whole thing ready to go now for the last Sunday of the month. All I have to finish up is the intro video. And hopefully this time Kurt lets the intro video play instead of talking over it.
Oh, did he? Oh, he talked over it last time.
Yeah, the intro video started up and he just started talking. I'm like, what are you doing, man?
Cool.
Yeah, I have to say there's one movie that I picked that I'm really surprised no one else picked.
Okay. Which one was that?
Always.
Oh, that was a good film.
Richard Dreyfuss, Holly Hunter,
Richard Dreyfuss,
John Goodman.
Holly Hunter, and that was a Spielberg film, right?
It was. It's an excellent movie.
It is. It is.
Like just such a great concept, you know. Now there were two. There's two S rank movies. Can you guess which ones they are?
Harlem Nights and Batman.
Well, you're right on one of them.
I'm right on Batman. I know Batman's an S.
Yeah, Harlem Night was only picked by Yumi and DC.
Well, we have class. We know
right.
stuff.
No, the other one was Last Crusade.
Yeah, definitely. That was actually in theaters on Father's Day. It was here in the local, or in Augusta, in the local theater. They put it out for the day, but I didn't go see it. But that's kind of cool. That's a good Father's Day film if you think about it. You know, Indiana Jones and all that.
Right? Yeah, I agree. It is a good one for Father's Day. But yeah, man. There's really, I don't think, I think maybe there was one movie that I think was a questionable pick. Like everything else, I could see, like, you know, why people picked them.
Maybe,
Hey, man.
maybe 2 movies that I thought were questionable, and they were both Ace's picks.
Oh, okay. Is Ace going to be on this show, or
Yeah,
is he a
Ace will be
contributor?
on.
Oh, that's cool. He's awesome. This would be an interesting show.
Yeah, and
That
it's
was
the last 80s show, the last regular one.
Right. This will
And
end,
then the
end
only
our decade.
and then we just do the decades S rank movies. So we all just pick
the
from the S ranks for throughout the 80s.
That is going to be difficult. That is going to be difficult.
Right. We're going to find out which ones make SSS rank.
For the 80s, there would have been a time when I said Beverly Hills Cop, but I already know Back to the Future is going to make it. I think that's going to make it.
I think Back to the Future will make it. I think
Batman.
that Empire Strikes Back will make it. I think Ghostbusters will make it.
Yeah.
I think Batman will make it.
Yes.
Terminator.
I don't even know if Terminator made S rank on the 84 episode.
It made S rank. It should. Yeah, it should. And actually, that was a horror movie. That was seen more as a horror movie when it came out than,
Right. Well,
Terminator
horror
2,
and sci-fi kind of go hand in hand.
Right. And Terminator 2 was actually the best action movie. It still freaking holds up. The technology, the whole storyline. It's so badass. I love Terminator.
Aliens came out in the 80s.
I didn't pick Aliens. I've never been.
The Aliens made S rank.
Did it? Okay. It didn't do it all with my help. Well, maybe I did. I don't remember, actually. I have to look at. I don't have my list in front of me.
Freaking alien tattoos, bro.
Yeah.
Or an alien tattoo. So,
do you think E.T. would make it? I don't know if enough people voted E.T., but that's a very 80s movie.
Hang on. I might actually be able to tell you like what the list is so far.
Well, you don't want to spoil it, do you? In case anybody
No, this isn't not the list for the 89 show. The movies that are available for picking for 1980 for the whole decade.
That's fun.
The ones that made S tier throughout the show. So we've got RoboCop. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and share a screen so that we can.
Yeah. Perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, I was going to type them all out, but I'm glad. So yeah, let's share the S tier.
No, because I have them all like here. I mean, except for 89, which the 2 movies from 89. I'll just tell you what they are at the end. They'll get added in afterwards.
Sure.
But there you go. I've shared the screen.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, we've got RoboCop.
Okay.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Wait, was RoboCop the first? Yeah, it was. All right.
Okay.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Big Trouble in Little China.
I love that.
Which actually should be Big Trouble in Little Japan because all the mythology in this movie is Japanese, not Chinese.
Oh my God, you're right.
Caddyshack.
Yes.
Conan the Barbarian. Aliens. There it is. Aliens.
So,
An American Werewolf in London. Back to the Future.
Definitely.
Yeah.
First Blood.
That's
Gremlins. Lethal Weapon. Like, why am I saying them all? You guys can see what they are.
Yeah, right.
Temple of Doom.
No, this I don't know where this came
that's
from.
an 80s movie. That's not an 80s movie.
No, I don't know how that frame even got in there.
Yeah. How's Mr. Mom? Mr. Mom was S tier? Wow.
Apparently that was a weak year. We had enough people pick it.
Wow. It was a good film. It was funny.
Terry Garr was super hot.
Yeah.
Predator, of course.
Yeah.
The Shining.
That scared the hell out of me.
Raiders. This will definitely make my top 10 of the whole decade.
Yeah.
Me too.
There's your E.T.
Yeah.
Jedi. I mean,
Jedi,
naturally, all
yeah.
the Star Wars in the 80s, you know, A New
Yeah.
Hope isn't in here, but just because it came out in 78. But,
Right.
you know, that original trilogy is all S tier. Let's be real.
Yeah.
The original, the first Ghostbusters, of course.
Ghostbusters. Yeah.
The Terminator.
Yes.
Terminator.
The Lost Boys.
Lost Boys. I was just thinking about that film the other day.
Superman 2.
I'd say, yeah.
Empire
Empire.
Strikes Back. And how awesome is this retro poster?
That is pretty cool. I don't know that I've ever seen that one.
Look at that. Look at that concept art Darth Vader.
I love that. The cape and everything is so dynamic.
And look at that's a whole fleet of TIE bombers.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
pretty badass.
I
Yeah,
like
this
that.
is a great poster.
What is that? Oh, that's his leg there. Okay.
Weird
Sorry.
Science.
Weird Science is fun.
And yeah, that's it.
Some of those movies are great. And some of them I wouldn't even think would make the list. Most of them are great, honestly. A few I'm surprised.
Will we be narrowing
Yeah,
it down
well, you
to
know,
10
that's the
films?
thing. When you have, because the only way a movie made S tier was if at least 5 of the panelists picked it.
5 of the 6, yeah.
Right. And we had like for example, Frank kept picking these like old westerns and like motocross fucking, you know, because you know
Yeah.
he's like, you know, people were making personal choices, you know what I mean? Like there were some movies that didn't make S tier that I was like, why isn't this S tier? But and of course you can add to these two The Last Crusade and Batman.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Now,
Rain Man.
are we going to narrow it down to 10 films? Is that how we're, or how many?
Yeah, we're each going to pick our top 10 from all the S rank movies for the whole decade.
Okay.
What about
But
Top
first-
Gun?
Top Gun
wasn't
didn't make S tier.
What?
Not everybody picked it.
It's crazy.
I think Top Gun was only picked by 4 people on its episode.
To be honest, and I know
So
I'm a Tom
close.
Cruise fan, so I know I picked it. But I almost think Maverick's a better film, even though it's Empire. It's kind of Empire Strikes Back with it. But or A New Hope. But I in some ways I enjoyed Maverick more than I liked Top Gun. But
Like out of these movies here, I think RoboCop will make my list. Conan the Barbarian will probably make my list.
Conan
Aliens
won't
will
make
probably make my list. Back to the Future definitely 100% makes my list.
yeah.
Empire Strikes Back will make my list because I'm not gonna put 2 Star Wars on it. So, you know, if I have to pick between Empire and Jedi, Empire is the one I'm picking.
Of course.
Ghostbusters 100% making my list. Raiders definitely making my list.
Yeah.
The Shining for sure will make my list. Maybe Caddyshack. Caddyshack is one of the funniest movies ever, man.
It is.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't need to talk about that yet. We got to finish 89 first.
What were some of your favorites, Doug? What are like some of your favorite
from the 80s?
Yeah.
It's Empire, Aliens, Terminator, Predator, and probably The Search for Spock. Star Trek.
Really?
Really over Star Trek 2.
I really like Khan, but Spock is my gig. So I mean, I really like that movie. it's certainly not going to make very many S tier film lists. But
But
you know, I like it even
interesting.
better than 2. And I love 2, don't get me wrong. 2, 3, and 4 are my favorites out of all the Star Trek movies.
Yeah, I actually really like 3 myself. I think Christopher Lloyd's Klingon is
It's
amazing.
good. Yeah.
Me too.
I really like Star Trek. Well, if we're going to split them up, Next Generation, one of my favorites is First Contact. I just love
Yeah,
that. But
sure.
Undiscovered Country may be like my most quoted. It's got so much Shakespeare in it. I just
Yeah.
really love Undiscovered Country. That's kind of my jam when it comes to
Yeah,
Star Trek.
Undiscovered Country is great, and it had David
Yeah.
Bowie's wife in it, looking amazing.
Iman, yeah.
Like
Yeah,
back in the
that's
day, we were like fan casting the X-Men movies like ourselves, like deciding, imagine like a late 80s, early 90s, like X-Men like fan casting, right? So
Really
like
smart.
naturally Arnold Schwarzenegger was our Colossus.
Yeah.
The one that might surprise people, and the only reason that this guy was picked was because of Cape Fear, but Robert De Niro was our pick for Wolverine because of Cape Fear.
Wow.
Because he got himself swole as hell in Cape Fear, and
I always thought that Dolph Lundgren would have made a good Colossus.
yeah, but it's during that time you had to take on him.
And he was, yeah.
But Iman was my pick for Storm.
Well, I don't have a problem with Arnold being Apocalypse in his prime,
Well, I don't think we were casting villains except for Magneto.
Oh, okay. Who would we have picked as Magneto?
crazy.
Well, Magneto. All right, this is gonna sound crazy, but our Magneto was John Malkovich.
Wow, that would have been quirky and interesting. Oh gosh. What would Stallone be? I was trying to think what we would have picked Stallone as.
Professor X. You know what's crazy?
Adrian.
You know what's absolutely crazy? The one pick that we did pick that actually came true was Patrick Stewart for Professor X.
Yeah, he was born to play that role. He was.
Yeah, it was.
Yes, that's perfect casting. That is life imitating.
And I want to put an asterisk on the whole John Malkovich thing because that wasn't my pick. I just got voted out. My pick for Magneto, get this, was Leonard Nimoy.
Wow.
Like Leonard Nimoy back then, we're talking like Star Trek 4 like era Leonard Nimoy.
But would he still have been Spock, or would he have? Nobody. He would be too typecast in that role to be anything else. But if we could,
well, but that's why I was saying like Leonard Nimoy would be great as Magneto.
But the intelligence and I would believe anything Leonard Nimoy said. He could do it. He could play that role of Magneto very well. I agree with that. It's just hard seeing him not being Spock.
Right. See, but the thing is, this was a fan casting long before fan castings were even happening. You know what I mean?
Right.
The internet didn't really exist yet.
I feel like Jean-Claude Van Damme would have been
available to everyone yet. You know what I mean?
I think Jean-Claude Van Damme would have maybe been Gambit. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, that's just it. We hadn't cast Gambit because we were going based on the John Byrne X-Men. The newest member to the team was Rogue, and she didn't even have Captain Marvel powers yet.
How about Kathleen Turner as Rogue?
Too old. Rogue needed to be young. You know what I mean?
Did she? Well, I don't
now, if you'd have said Kathleen Turner as Mystique, that I would have gone for.
Leonard
Because she's got
Nimoy's
that like
Marvel character.
sultry voice. You know what I mean?
Hey,
Yeah.
Caveman's watching. He said Leonard Nimoy's Marvel character is Namor. I don't get it. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Oh
The
yeah, I
actual
can see
Namor?
Leonard Nimoy doing Namor.
Oh, I get it. I
Me
get it.
too.
Oh,
I
okay,
could see
okay.
that.
That's good. That's good. Caveman, we were on Kaz's stream and we started reading some AI about the stream. It was wild, dude.
That was
I'll tell you
fucking
about it later.
cool.
That was neat. We got to do that again.
So,
I wanted to do
Doug,
that on my
Doug,
own stream.
I have to ask you, brother, have you watched any of our movie ranking episodes?
No,
All right. Well, the
I'm
last
sorry.
Sunday of the month, we're gonna do the 1989. Watch it.
It's
You know what I mean?
9
Check it out
p.m.
with
Eastern.
us. It'll be on Curtis's channel, Sergeant Curtis Schultz, Star Wars Squawk Box.
Okay.
Listen to the link.
And the
Yeah.
reason that I want you to watch it is because I want you to be a guest on one of our 90s episodes.
That'd be
Oh.
great. We'd love to have
Well,
you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Because we have 5 regular panelists, and then we always do a guest panelist.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be honored, and I'll try and make it happen.
You'd be
Just
fantastic.
keep reminding me.
Right. Well,
Got a
basically,
lot
what
going on.
it'll be is whichever year it is, I'll tell you what year it is, and you'll tell me your 10 favorite movies of that year, and then I take
Gotcha.
care of everything else.
Okay.
And then you just
Hey,
show
y'all-
up on the
y'all
night
talk-
and you talk about the movies that you picked.
I got to go get my dog
Right.
real quick, but y'all keep talking, okay?
Go right ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because Ace is
yeah,
the guest
that'd be
on
cool.
89, and then Bullwinkle's our guest on the 80s decade.
Hey, Marley, want to see?
What's up?
Want to see my friends?
Right on, dude.
You want to see
That'll
my
be
friends,
fun.
Barkley? See, Barkley?
Yeah,
Come here,
and
buddy.
I put together a
Barkley.
decent show when I do it. Like,
I'm sure.
well, here I'll actually share a little screen and give an example.
Okay.
So
Hey, buddy. This is good. You go for it.
I'll show you basically how it rolls out.
Yeah, and
And,
Prophet, he does a great job with putting the whole show together. He puts like a lot of hours into
All
it.
right, Ed, I've shared the screen there.
Cool. I
Yes.
bet.
All right.
All right, so yeah, this is how it usually rolls out. It's we're in the theater there, and then oh wait, I messed up. All right, so it starts with the movie poster, and then who picked it, right? And it cycles through that. Then we move on to the trailer with no sound, and I put like filters on it so we don't get copywritten. It's like I put the old film filters on it.
Right.
So we go through the trailer, and then I just show the movie poster. And we're talking over the trailer and the movie poster, and then I show where it is on the ranking based on how many people picked it.
So explain the tiers while you get it on the screen there.
If it's only picked by one person, it's a rank D. If it's picked by 2, it's C. If it's picked by 3, it's B. If it's picked by 4 people, it's A. And if it's picked by 5 or 6, it's S.
And what's the bottom one there?
This is for overspill on D, because we usually get a lot of like individual picks. So like if there's extra D's, they go down in the second one. But then we would move on to the next one. And here's one of the picks that I think is questionable. But Burt Reynolds does voice the main dog in it.
All dogs go to heaven. Is that what that is?
That is what that is. Ace picked this movie.
Gosh.
So.
That's a good film. I forgot about that.
But yeah, and then you'd see, because only Ace picked it, it goes in D. I don't want to go too deep into it, so I'll stop it there.
Don't give away too much, yeah.
But you get the general idea of like how it goes.
Yeah. That's cool as shit. Okay.
That is pretty neat, yeah. And we've done all of the 80s. This will be 1989, and it's on the
89 will be the last single year of the 80s.
So
and then
that
we'll do
is
the whole 80s decade, just the S tier movies that I showed you guys before.
that is a week
Yeah.
from Sunday. That'll be June 29th, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern.
That's right.
Correct. All right. Okay, cool.
So yeah, we basically do one episode the last Sunday of every month.
Cool. And it's on your channel.
We were supposed to actually do
It's on
this.
Curtis's channel.
Yeah, we were
Although
supposed to do this.
I'm thinking starting in the 90s, I might just start hosting it on my channel.
That'll be good. Yeah, it'll be good for your channel.
Yeah,
Well,
just
we were
keep
gonna
me- keep me posted. I'm always, hanging around you guys.
yeah,
Yeah, I know.
were gonna do
We've
it the month
definitely
before,
got ways
but
to get in touch with you. You know,
sidetracked.
you're around. You're
You're
part of the crew at this point, I feel.
Yeah. According to the AI, you are.
Thank you. According
Yeah,
to
the 90s
AI.
is gonna have a lot of if we have to look at the 90s as a decade, and think about movies that are guaranteed S tier.
Yeah.
Matrix.
I mean, Jurassic Park, 100%.
Yeah.
The Matrix
Phantom
for
Menace.
sure. Phantom Menace. I don't know if Phantom Menace will make the S tier.
Uh,
The
I'm still gonna
millennials
pick it.
love it, dude. The
They do.
millennials
They
cannot
do now.
get over that movie. They just eat it up. They love that one. They despise Attack of the Clones, and they love Return of the Sith.
Well,
Yeah,
Attack of the Clones
Revenge
is
of the Sith.
pretty bad.
Revenge of the Sith. Excuse me.
Yeah. But Revenge of the Sith, next to Empire, it's probably my favorite of all. Well, Empire, it's hard to say.
Well, but isn't Revenge of the Sith would be 2000s?
True.
Oh, you're right. That's 05.
But I mean, we're
Attack of
talking
the
about
Clones. Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones was
2002.
90. No, it's
Attack of the
99.
Clones
Yeah.
was
It
2002.
was 99. No, Attack of the
Right.
Clones was 99.
But that's why.
No, the Phantom Menace was 99.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's why I
got
only
mixed up.
picked Phantom Menace instead of the others. But I mentioned the others in that context regarding millennials because
Right.
they love Phantom Menace. Absolutely love it.
The original X-Men movie might make the list.
Oh, that must be a caveman in on there. He put toys. Oh no, that was me. No. Forget that. That was me. Never mind.
Yeah, Caveman, you should join us, brother.
He's rendering. He got his new computer. And
he's busy.
40,
All right.
He said it's about 40 times faster, 40% faster. So he's rendering a clip in 15 minutes and 44 seconds. It used to take him about 24 minutes on his old laptop. So he's super excited he got that up and running because he had a catastrophic failure on his old laptop, about 9 years old. So good for him. So what else in the 90s?
Hang on, I'm actually looking. I'm typing in movies released in the 1990s,
because
and we'll see what pops up.
I'm
here.
drawing a blank. Yeah, let's see. Movies.
Thunderdome.
Mad Max. Yeah, that was
Thunderdome.
Movies of the 90s. Movies of the 19. Oops, it's so nice.
Oh, The Crow is definitely going to make my list. The Brandon Lee, The Crow movie.
Yeah.
That's actually one of my favorite comic book movies ever made.
This one will make it. I think Pulp Fiction.
Oh, Pulp Fiction will make it 100%.
Goodfellas from 1990. Oh,
dude, I don't know. I don't know if this movie will make it, but I love this movie. Have you ever seen A Bronx Tale?
It's been a long time, but that was De Niro.
Yeah, De Niro directed it. Yes.
I think everybody's going to pick Shawshank Redemption, but I wouldn't. I don't think I'd pick Shawshank. I'm not a big fan of it.
You guys are going to laugh, but
Saving Private Ryan.
I tend to avoid movies that have anything to do with New York City. And it's because I get sick and motherfucking tired of every goddamn cop show, every fucking fictional show, every show is about some motherfuckers in New York City. Fucking sick and tired of New York fucking City. There's more than New York City in this country. Okay? That's one city out of, I don't know, 100,000. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I don't mind occasionally dipping into LA, you know. I like it when a show is in Chicago or in Atlanta or fuck in Albuquerque, like Breaking Bad. You know, I purposely like I haven't seen the Gangs of New York, even though I know that it's
Oh,
Oh,
that's
that is
a
a
great.
an absolute
good film.
masterpiece, man.
It
I
is.
know it's a great movie. I know, but it's about New York City, and I fuck New York. I lived there for 17 years, not in the city, but
Yeah,
upstate.
but it's a
And
real accurate period piece.
I know, and it's a real petty thing. I realize that, but it's like GTA 4, Grand Theft Auto 4. That was a representation of New
Uh-oh.
York City. I'm like, fuck, New York
That was
City.
weird.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Every
whenever
time
I
I
see
turn
a movie
around,
or a show that takes place in Chicago, I wind up picking it apart.
Hmm. Yeah.
I hear you because you know your community.
Oh,
Hmm.
how about Ghost? Ghost might make it.
I could see Ghost making it. Big Lebowski.
Oh, the Big Lebowski, definitely. That first
Did you?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was really good.
Well, we can't talk about this one, but Fight Club.
Well, we
Because you
could
can't
talk
talk
about
about
the movie. We just can't talk about the Fight Club itself.
Silence of the Lambs. That's a classic. Hey, buddy.
Yeah, there really were a lot of great movies.
Oh, The
Unforgiven.
Well,
Frighteners. Oh,
Unforgiven.
Starship Troopers. What a great movie that was.
My name's
you know,
Forrest. Forrest Gump.
there's Alien 3 and there's Resurrection.
The
I
Rocketeer. That was
love
a good one.
all the Alien movies.
Berkeley, come here, buddy. Come
A Few Good
here.
Men. That's a great movie.
I gotta let
There's
dog out.
Terminator movies,
Terminator
Predator
2.
movies.
Terminator 2.
Tombstone. That's a
Outside
good
that.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
Terminator 2. Terminator 2 for sure.
hmm I'm glad though that we're in a different age. I'm more entertained than I was back in those days. Back in those days, I was seeing all of the technical faux pas, and I don't see so many of them now. Like
Schindler's List.
in Star Wars, in the original three, you can see as the spaceship flies by, say a TIE fighter, you can see like a cutout around it of space that's like lighter or darker than the surrounding screen. It especially shows up on small screens, um, home theater, you know, even on my Blu-rays, and that's just a limitation of the time.
Well, here's a movie that I think will make my list, whichever '90s year it is, and it's something that after watching Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, I never thought I'd say because it's a Joel Schumacher film, but Falling Down with Michael Douglas.
I didn't see it.
That movie's incredible. Point Break. It's a good one.
Of course, I've heard of it. I don't know if I've seen it.
Like all
You'd
of the
probably
Pierce
be
Brosnan
surprised at
Bond films came out in that decade.
say that again.
All the Pierce Brosnan Bond films came out in the '90s.
Mm, yeah, that's true.
Like I'm not sure if any of them are going to make my lists, but they did come out in those years.
Here's my little Pierce Brosnan Aston Martin. What's this say? It's a Vanquish. Mine is a Vantage.
That
But
first
it's
Austin
nothing.
Powers might make one of my lists.
That was late 90s, right?
Very late 90s.
Even my wife likes that. She's not into comedies.
Oh, you know, this one's a guilty pleasure of mine. It was actually the first DVD I ever bought. Twister.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Love Twister.
That's relevant to me. I'm a moderator on a Storm Chaser channel. And they're out almost every day chasing tornadoes. They were out this evening, but I joined these streams instead because I don't always want to volunteer my time moderating.
Right.
We get a
Sometimes you
lot
just
of
want to hang out.
Yeah,
Hey,
this is a group of friends. This is a group of friends. In there, I have to act like a cock, a fucking
So,
thought
Ed,
police.
you walked away when I mentioned it, but
sorry.
have you ever seen Falling Down?
Yes, it's an absolute classic with Michael Douglas.
Yes, that movie's
Love it.
amazing.
That might be my favorite. That might be one of my favorite. That and War of the Roses are probably two of his best films.
So,
So
yeah, and
this
then
is
I
a
was talking
little
about
out of-
a film that's a guilty pleasure of mine, Twister.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love Twister. When is War of the Roses? Was that 89 or 90?
War of the Roses, you and I are the only two that picked it in 89. It's this year.
In 89? Oh, okay. That's a shame because that's a classic. That is a
Oh,
great.
and then Sam Raimi's first comic book movie. A lot of people thought it was Spider-Man, but it's not. It's Darkman.
Darkman.
Liam Neeson, great film.
Wow, I forgot Liam Neeson was in that. You're right, he was. Oh my god, yeah.
Oh, here's another of my guilty pleasures, The Shadow with Alec Baldwin.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that. It's like a 40s serial kind of thing. What about Dick Tracy? That was kind of cutting edge at the time. That was like 1990, I think.
I actually really enjoyed Dick Tracy.
I enjoyed it too. It had Al Pacino in it, right?
He was the main villain.
Yeah.
Dustin Hoffman was in it as Mumbles.
Yeah. But it was so stylistically, it's a beautiful movie, the bright colors and
yeah. It's like
really
I think that now this is gonna sound crazy, but I kind of think that Dick Tracy was kind of the it's the foundation that they built movies like Sin City on.
Oh yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
It was like the first time they had made a comic book movie and tried to make it look like the comic.
Yeah, totally.
It was definitely comic noir.
And I love the soundtrack to it. I thought like Madonna, what she did with the soundtrack, like really, she encompassed some of those songs. I thought worked really well.
She's a very weird woman, but she was definitely talented.
Yeah.
She wasn't a great actress.
I've got that on DVD. I was hot for Jennifer Alba back in the day.
She was in
Jessica Alba. Whatever.
There was an episode of David Letterman where he had Madonna on as his guest, and Madonna gave him a pair of her used panties, like as a gift, was mad at him for not smelling them, and then wouldn't leave when her time was up.
Right. I remember that. Wasn't Jessica Alba in that film with Paul Walker where they're like divers or something in the treasure?
Yeah.
the
I
blue or
think that
something,
was
or was that the
I
other
want to
Jeff?
say Blue Hole,
Blue
but
Wave or
that
Blue
may not
something?
be it. It was Blue something.
Yeah,
You know, I'd be willing to bet that M3 is gonna pick Barbed Wire just because Pam Anderson's like in it.
wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Um,
What a terrible movie.
Oh, it's
Ground.
horrible.
What about Groundhog Day?
Groundhog Day is a great movie.
Much better than Barbed Wire.
I
Oh,
feel like,
Total Recall, fantastic.
yeah.
Oh, hell
What do
yeah.
you think?
That ought to go
What do
in
you?
there.
I think it's one of the best movies ever. But Schindler's List. I
I
wonder how
agree
many
with you,
people will
man.
pick it
Schindler's
though.
List is a masterpiece.
I just don't
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people in our group are going to pick it.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna pick it.
I mean, yeah, maybe 2 or 3 of us. I mean, I may be surprised. I enjoyed
Okay.
Goodwill Hunting. Goodwill Hunting, I
No,
thought was pretty good.
no, I'm not gonna say this in a mean way,
Okay.
but Schindler's List is as an intellectual film. And this is not a generally intellectual group.
Well, some
Another
of us are, but
some
you
of
know, we
us
don't always
some
come
of us
across as
have
that.
more tendencies that lean in that way. Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
Oh, okay.
And
Here you
I'm not
go. Here's 2 movies that will definitely get picked in the years they come out:
But you have a
Braveheart
point.
and Last of the Mohicans.
God, I loved Last of the Mohicans. That
Last of the Mohicans
that
was
was
good.
so
Yeah.
fun.
What
Yeah,
was
it
it?
is
What?
such a fantastic film. I mean,
Yeah.
in particular, there's one scene that like sticks out of my head like really, really strongly. And it's where Tim Robbins sacrifices himself to get them out of there. And Daniel Day-Lewis shoots him so he doesn't have to suffer through burning to death.
Yeah. A lot of brutal stuff, man.
Man, that
Great
movie is great.
story,
And
great interpretation.
the soundtrack
Yeah.
for Last of the Mohicans, that
Yeah.
score is just amazing.
For me, one of them is Unforgiven. I just remember loving that film. Everything about it. When that was like 92, I think, when that came out. That's just a great film.
Well, it's Eastwood doing a Western, you know, he's like,
Yeah. Here's one
you
that
know,
I think you and I, Prophet, will definitely agree on. I don't know about Doug, but JFK, I think, is a masterpiece.
yeah, I don't know if it'll make any of my list though. It depends on what
Yeah.
else is out that year.
Right. But
Because I don't
Dances,
think it's Oliver Stone's best film.
what do you think? Dances with Wolves. What do y'all think of that?
Yeah. What about Waterworld? Same thing. Love those 2 movies.
Waterworld seems like it makes more sense now. It seemed kind of silly at the time, but I feel like that's the future in a worst case scenario, you know.
Look,
It's possible.
I think the thing that drags Waterworld down the most, in my opinion, is Dennis Hopper's overly hammy performance.
It's a 90s movie.
Oh, I get it.
mean,
I understand that's the whole point of it.
right. I mean, and Mad Max, films were right in that neighborhood too, like Thunderdome. And they
Another,
were over the top, ridiculous a little bit.
I don't think anybody's going to vote for Malcolm X, but I thought it was a very good film. I remember it.
Oh, and let's
Denzel
also
did
not
so
forget.
good in that.
Let's also not forget that the 90s was the start of the Disney Renaissance.
What about Black Cauldron? When was that?
Black Cauldron was early 80s.
Early 80s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Black
one of my
Cauldron was,
favorite Disney movies.
that is like
Well,
the
the
darkest
Disney
Disney film
Renaissance,
ever.
the Renaissance started with The Little Mermaid.
Oh,
So you've got The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King. You know, in that era, Disney had just had hit after hit after hit.
Right.
yeah.
This one won't make it on anybody's list, but as good as it gets with Helen Hunt and
Oh,
Jack
that is
Nicholson.
one of Jack Nicholson's best lines ever.
I
When the
know.
woman goes, "How do you write women so well?" He goes, "I think of a man and I leave out reason and accountability."
And the famous line from there, "You make me want to be a better man." That's like, that is a cool line, you know.
When did Basic Instinct come out?
Basic Instinct is 90s.
It was 90s, early 90s.
That's got to go in there.
Wow, you got Toy Story in 95 and Toy Story 2 in 99. But Toy Story 3 is probably the best film, I think.
Out of the Toy Story films, Toy Story 2 is my favorite.
That third one just, oh my gosh.
Well,
Oh
I
man.
think the reason that I like Toy Story 2 the best is the poetic theme that because here's the thing that like you have to have a keen eye to catch about Toy Story 2. When you think about what's her name, the character that was voiced by Joan Cusack, the cowgirl.
Yeah.
When she has a flashback of the little girl that owned her and how she got like tossed aside as she got older.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize that the little girl that was playing with her is wearing the same exact hat that Andy is wearing while he's playing with Woody. And you realize that that her owner was Andy's mom.
I remember.
Yeah.
Now that you bring it up.
And not only that, but the fact that they like approach the whole idea of like adult collectors and like the value of like an old toy and how Woody gets restored by a professional, and you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
such a great film.
I'd say
And
it's a great film.
The only reason Toy Story 1 won't make my list for its year for 95 is because the CG does not hold up.
Yeah.
You rewatch that first Toy Story and it's like early 90s video game graphics.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold up.
Now, this ought to be a S tier film, I think, on everybody's list, but it's the story of two youths in Alabama.
My Cousin Vinny?
Yeah. I love
the movie that Aunt May won her Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress.
So
Marissa Tomei was such a beautiful woman. Oh,
so beautiful and
Excuse
so
me, guys.
witty.
My dogs are freaking out. I gotta be taking care of them.
Okay, do what you gotta do. But yeah, I love
DFS,
that.
man, you should join us, brother. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, sir.
Yep. He said he had to finish his chili or something, or what was he eating? He said maybe after me beans. Okay, I'm not sure what he means by that. So, but yeah, anybody's welcome. I think I dropped the link in the chat. Anybody that's here, copy, paste. Boom, boom, boom. New comments. We have new comments. Oh, here's the link if you want to. It's in the chat as well. You're welcome to come on stage and chat with us. Gosh, yeah, there's some many ones on the list. I'm on IMDb looking. Office Space. Oh my God, I didn't see that when it came out. I'm a very late comer to that film, but that is a classic.
You've been missing a lot of work lately, Jim. I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
That's true.
It's like the only thing I've ever liked Jennifer Aniston in.
Yeah, A Few Good Men. Wow, great film.
Okay, now this movie went totally under the radar, but Mouse Hunt.
Mouse Hunt?
Yeah, it was Nathan Lane and the other guy.
You're talking about Mouse Trap.
No, Mouse
Trap.
Hunt.
Oh, what am I thinking of? The Robin Williams, Nathan Lane one. What was that? Oh, Birdcage.
That was
I'm getting all
Birdcage.
confused.
Yeah.
That was a hilarious movie. Mouse Hunt.
No,
I gotta
but
look
Mouse
this up.
Hunt starred Nathan Lane and I can't remember the other guy's name, but Christopher Walken plays an exterminator in it.
Mouse.
And the mouse kicks the shit out of Christopher Walken as an exterminator. It's hilarious.
It's Gore Verbinski directed it. Nathan Lane, Lee Evans, and Vicki Lewis are the stars of it. A dark comedy.
It's great, but like it's such an under the radar film.
Is it kind of Home Alone before Home Alone or after?
No, not at all. Basically,
like
Nathan Lane and what's his name? The other guy,
Lee Evans.
Lee Evans. They buy a house together, and they're trying to renovate it, but there's a mouse in the house that doesn't want them to renovate it, and unfortunately for them, the mouse is smarter than both of them.
Here it is. Oops. There we go. Mouse Hunt. Huh.
No, that's not Mouse Hunt.
That's what it said, Mouse Hunt.
That was some Kevin Costner thing.
Oh, it must
Maybe that was the commercial before Mouse Hunt.
It must have been, yeah. I don't know. I lost it now. I closed that browser.
But I highly recommend watching Mouse Hunt. It is hilarious.
Okay. Mouse Hunt.
Yeah, Christopher Walken plays an exterminator in it. And oh my God, brother. It is funny, man.
Did I miss y'all saying Goodfellas?
No, I glassed over Goodfellas.
Okay.
I'm not like a huge fan of mob movies, especially ones that glorify it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Seven was great.
Yeah, Seven is a fantastic film.
But I am a weird person. I don't know that I've ever watched all of Shawshank Redemption, and I'm told that's like that's an unforgiven sin to not love.
It's really good.
Love Shawshank.
Oh, here's one that I guarantee you that both M3 and Curtis will pick: The Never-Ending Story.
I could almost see maybe Caveman picking that digital. He might. I don't know. I remember that was a good. I don't know that I'd pick it. What was not the Rescuers? Maybe it was the Rescuers. I'm thinking of film.
That's from the 70s.
Was that the 70s? Oh my God.
Well, the first Rescuers was 70s, and then the Rescuers Down Under was 80s.
If I say, man.
What up?
EFS, how are you, my friend?
Pretty good. Just about to open some more Diet
What about
here.
12 Monkeys? 12 Monkeys was 90s,
12
right?
Monkeys.
I love 12 Monkeys, man. That movie's great.
12 Monkeys. I don't remember that one.
It's Bruce Willis. He is sent back from the future to find out where the virus that wiped out most of humanity was started.
Oh, sounds badass.
Brad Pitt is in it as well. He's like a rich dude's son, and Bruce Willis meets him in a mental hospital because he goes back in time, and they wind up locking him up because they don't believe that he's from the future.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta check this one out. Sounds pretty
What
good.
about Reservoir?
And just so you get an idea of what type of movie it is, it was directed by Terry Gilliam.
Oh, okay.
So the same guy that did Time Bandits, Brazil.
It's a mindfuck movie.
I'm putting it on the watch list.
It's so good. And Madeline Stowe has never been hotter.
What the fuck? I've never seen this. I'm looking at images. Yeah, I've never seen this one.
Brad Pitt is over the top badass in that movie. Just he plays a nutbag perfectly.
It's straight. We're talking 90s movies.
Yeah, we're talking 90s movies.
He's like, yeah, that's
old people talk. Yes.
Yep. Well, first, just to recap on this stream, we were talking about the 1989 show that we're doing. finishing up the 80s, and then that's going to be on the 29th of this month at 9 p.m. Eastern. And then we're going to do best of the S tier films, which is the top tier of all the films. We're going to get that down to a list of 10 for the whole 1980s. And then we're moving on to the 90s. We'll start with 1990, and then I guess however Prophet wants to do it, progress through the decade.
Like, I would tell you that the truth is that A Few Good Men is a good movie, but you can't handle the truth.
Few Good Men is fantastic. What else?
One of the like most horrific science fiction films ever came out in the 90s. Event Horizon.
Oh, hell yeah. That's a good one.
Event Horizon was good.
Yeah.
I took my wife to see Event Horizon on our first date.
Really?
It's a miracle. It's a miracle she married me. She fucking hates that movie.
Damn. It's a good one.
When did Signs come out? Was Signs in the 90s or was that
Signs?
I'm not sure. Signs might have been
Mel
early
Gibson?
2000s.
I've got to look at it because you had the I See Dead People movie in the 90s. The first one he did.
Yeah, The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Man, that movie was ruined for me.
Oh, you're right. Signs came out 2002. I didn't realize it was that late. Wow. I thought it was in the late 90s, but
yeah, I was working on the Odyssey at Navy Pier as a bartender. It's like the biggest ship like dinner cruise yacht on Navy Pier in Chicago. And I was on shift, and this guy comes up to my bar and he says, "Have you seen The Sixth Sense yet?" And I said, "No, but we're going right after work today." And the guy goes, "Oh man, Bruce Willis is dead the whole movie." I'm like, "You fucking asshole!"
Shit.
What
I
a
would have
dick.
punched him. Oh man.
Well, I was on the clock behind the bar. I couldn't actually punch the guy, but I wanted to.
I tell you what, I was incredibly stupid. I did not realize until the reveal he'd been wearing the same freaking clothes the whole movie. It never occurred to me, and I usually pick up on stuff like that, and it just went right over my head.
Well, you know, and the thing is, because the movie was ruined for me, I picked up on all of that shit right away.
Oh no!
Right.
The fact that his wife never acknowledged his presence, not once in any of their interactions through the whole film.
How about this? The Dark Knight. We went to go see it like opening night. Me and a friend I used to hang out with. We were always in the first screenings, the midnight screenings, or whatever. And they sent us to the wrong showing, and we literally walked into the end where why is Batman, running in and he jumps on the bike and Commissioner Gordon's telling his boy or whatever. Well, he's the hero. He's the Dark Knight. And we're like, oh my God, it's just beginning. And realized that was the ending of the movie. And we're like, oh, so it didn't ruin it for me, but it really pissed me off. I was like, well, shit. You just
No
went
doubt.
to the wrong damn theater. But oh man.
That's funny.
So what movies have y'all seen the most in theaters? My most of until Revenge of the Sith came out, I had seen Terminator 2 7 times in the theater on its original theatrical run. Because I lived in the theater. And then episode Revenge of the Sith came along, and then I extended it another one because I went and saw the 20th anniversary version of it, which was great. But so that Revenge of the Sith holds my record for I think 8 or now it's 9 viewings. What's like the
for me? It was Return of the Jedi, because I was just old enough to go to the theater by myself.
Yeah.
And I went like twice a week for like 6 months straight.
Wow.
Well, whenever they re-released it in the 80s, because I wasn't allowed to go to the theater, even with my friends, until probably the 80s, sometime in the 80s. So whenever they re-released A New Hope, it wasn't called A New Hope, but it was still,
It was just
Star
Star Wars
Wars.
at the time.
It was Star Wars. And I remember sitting at the very front seat because I wanted the biggest seat. And I remember Darth Vader coming out. He was his helmet just was like took up the whole screen. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I was terrified of Darth Vader. I was like, oh my God. And of course, I'd
Mhm.
seen it on TV, but not seeing it that way in the theater. And I remember Halloween came. It was at some point later that year, or it was close to Halloween. I don't know if it was the holidays or whenever they released it. But I remember sitting in like one of the front seats, and I want to think it's fourth or fifth grade. And I was terrified of Darth Vader. He was so menacing, you know. And they came in, just walked into our class, and we're in the middle class, and somebody dressed as Darth Vader, somebody dressed as Chewbacca, probably somebody as Luke Skywalker. I wouldn't be surprised. And I remember Darth Vader walking around. I just remember saying to myself, please don't let him come here. I'm so scared of it that he'd walk by me. And he ended up walking in and didn't walk by my desk. And I was like so relieved. But I was like terrified of him. I was just a
So
fraidy little kid.
I have a fun story about Return of the Jedi. The first time I saw it,
Mhm.
so I had $3. That's what I was given. And I went and I bought a Emperor's Royal Guard action figure. Because I was like, oh, this figure is amazing. You know what I mean? It's got the soft goods cloak.
Right.
It's got the, the shiny red helmet. And then I snuck in to see Return of the Jedi. Like, didn't pay for a ticket. And I'm like, I'm just not going to tell anybody that I saw it so they know I didn't, like, do anything bad,
Right.
But then the movie was so good that I knew I wasn't going to be able to not talk about it. And I gave the Emperor's Royal Guard figure to a kid, like, down the aisle from me. I'm like, here, man, you can, because I couldn't, like, have the figure and say I
Wow.
didn't, because they'd be like, how'd you get the money? You know what I mean? So I wound up giving the figure away because I knew I wasn't going to be able to not talk about Return of the Jedi.
Right.
That's crazy, man. That's
I'd
funny.
say the movies that I've seen the most in the theater are probably things like Bambi and Snow White and Fantasia and the classic old Disney, because my mom took me and my sisters to the theater every single time that a Disney movie was in the area. So I've seen Bambi in the theater probably 10 times, and the same for like Snow White.
Yeah.
I might have seen Star Wars in the theater 2, maybe 3 times. Empire twice, Turn of the Jedi twice. But I
Yeah.
seldom go to a movie like I seldom go to a movie twice in the theater.
Yeah, I'm the
Yeah.
same way.
I will
I'd like that
occasionally.
now, but I can't afford it. Go that much.
Yeah. But even then,
But
but
even then,
even as an adult, I would occasionally go to see something like Fantasia, because that's one of my favorite Disney movies. I certainly saw Fantasia 2 in the theater.
I'm so sorry.
I enjoyed it. It definitely wasn't.
Fantasia 1.
It was not on
Wasn't
par with the
it
first
wasn't
one by any stretch of the imagination.
Fantasia, the next
No.
generation.
No, it wasn't. But yeah, I mean, for most of my life, I was on the verge of being dirt poor. So it just, went to the movie once and that was good enough, because eventually it was going to come on HBO and Cinemax, or
Oh my gosh. Did
then
y'all in
VHS and then DVD and so on.
right.
So
See, now,
I
if
get
I had to say,
satisfied easily.
like, not including going to the theater, but what movie I've watched the most times? Well, when I was a kid, my mom and I were living in an apartment. She had just gotten divorced, and we had a bootleg copy of Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, wow.
And I watched that thing at least 160 times. 160
Yeah.
is where I stopped counting.
Wow.
Right.
I was probably that way with the original Star Wars. If you count all the times it was on TV, I feel like I've watched that so much. You know,
Yeah, I've watched that more than any other movie.
I'll tell you,
But
my
Jedi was like I said, I was finally old enough to go to the theater by myself.
right,
And that was why I saw that like 30 times at the theater.
wow.
Now, the next closest thing would have been Batman, the first Batman movie with Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton.
And I saw that in the
I
theater.
did see that a lot of times. Yeah.
Yeah, probably like 8 to 10 times, somewhere around there.
I might have seen it 3 or 4 times. I don't know. But I tell you, one of the scariest things in the theater, I never liked the Exorcist films because I guess growing up Catholic, you know, that's kind of a real thing, or you know, we see it as a possibility.
Well,
or
yeah, but
whatever.
you're
So-
never going to
I've
find a
never
more
seen them.
pro-Catholic movie than The Exorcist.
Exactly. And
Like the
so
Catholic
it was
Church is literally the hero of that film.
right. Well, Exorcist, I think it was Exorcist 3. I went to go see it in the theater because that was the point. I'd seen every movie probably more than once, and that was like the only thing I hadn't seen at the time. And that's what I did. I went to the movies. So I sat there and watched it, and the whole thing, it gets you going, and you think something's going to happen, then it doesn't happen. And there's literally one scene, and there's this long hallway, and the lady or the guy walks down the hallway, and they take a right, and immediately this lady dressed in a nun thing with like these long kind of silver cleaver things like that, just you can't even see it. It's so almost out of focus. That person walks off the screen, turns the corner, and then all of a sudden you can see it. I screamed and jumped out of my seat in the theater. And there's a girl like sitting way over here. She looked at me and started laughing. And I tried to play it
From
off.
the
And then I
sound of
just
it, there
walked
was a
out the
girl
theater.
sitting in your seat.
It was.
Girl named Ed.
Well, one time I was 10 years old, and I remember it. We had just gotten HBO, I think. We finally able to afford it or whatever. And my parents fell asleep. My dad was in his chair, and my mom, I think, was resting on the couch. And I snuck out of my room, and I switched to HBO, and The Shining was on, and I watched it. And that movie scared the living crap out of me.
The
And I've only
Shining,
watched Shining. I was 10 years old. I was a very scared kid, so
The
it
Shining
scared
is
the
one of
mess-
2 movies that scared me in my life.
and I think it scarred me for life. But I became a Jack Nicholson fan from that movie, and anything else he did was gold to me. But
Well,
what
you know,
scared me the most was Shelley Duvall in that film.
the reason that The Shining scared me was because, you know, the main victim was a kid. You know what I mean? And as a kid, I related to the main victim. And that's why all the other like horror movies of the time didn't scare me, because like all the victims are adults. I'm like, as a kid, I'm totally safe. You know what I mean?
Like the first Freddy Krueger movie was scary, Nightmare on Elm Street. After that, they just became
they were adults.
stupid. I know, but
So,
yeah, they became
but the other movie that scared me, and this is gonna this might freak you guys out, but the other movie that scared me was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
I disliked that
scary,
film
yeah.
growing up.
None of those kids, except for Charlie, survived that whole endeavor.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but that's it. It's simply, look, Augustus Bluth falls in the chocolate river, gets stuck in the pipe. That kid's overweight. He can't hold his breath that long. He's dead. You know, what's her name? Violet. She turns into a blueberry. They're like, oh, take her to the press. She ain't made a blueberry. You're gonna press her to death. She's dead. Mike TV, he gets shrunk. They're like, take him to the taffy stretcher. He's not made of taffy. You just ripped that kid in half. And then the biggest proof of all of it, Willy Wonka had just got through saying, yeah, the bad eggs go straight to the incinerator, and then Veruca Salt goes down the bad egg chute to the incinerator. I'm like, she's dead. And anyone who wants to debate me, Charlie and his grandfather would have been chopped to bits in the goddamn fan blades had they not figured out burping for themselves. Willy Wonka is a child murderer.
That is the most
Yeah, it's
educated
terrifying.
breakdown of that film I've ever heard.
Yeah,
I
it's
love it.
terrifying.
DFS, what about you? What movie have you like seen the most, and which one also scared you the most?
Fuck. I guess what I've seen the most is probably the Star Wars films,
The
the
original.
original trilogies. But
Yeah, those are
honestly,
terrifying.
but no, I didn't. Those aren't
Two separate
terrifying.
questions.
Those are the ones I probably watched the most as a child, but I didn't. I can't. In the
What
movies.
movie like made the most impression on you? Maybe is there?
Oh yeah. What made the most impression on me was Akira and
Yes. Okay.
Good choice.
Very good choice. Very good choice.
oh, and but yeah, I'm 40 years old, so by the time I was 7 or 8 years old, my uncles were making me watch anime. So those were some of the biggest influences. Was what I always forget the name of oh, I can't even remember the name.
Yeah,
Who's in it?
I got introduced to anime like movies because like I got introduced to
Right.
anime as a child, but it was like not great because you look at that original Gundam series and the artwork does not hold up. It was like worse than Transformers artwork. And then you got Speed Racer, and it's like Speed, just check the damn trunk before the race. You know the stupid kid and the monkey are in there. Why are you going to let them slow you down again? Get them out of the trunk before you start the damn race.
That's
right?
funny.
But then Akira came out, and I was introduced to anime movies that were aimed at a more adult audience. And Akira, man, that movie was insane. But then after that, when we got a taste for the anime movies, there were two in particular that stuck out really strong in my mind, and that was Ghost in the Shell and Ninja Scroll. Now, Ninja
Okay.
Scroll in particular, that one was crazy, man, because there's that one bit where the one villain, he gets his hands on the girl who's like the poison tester for the clan.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And he's like holding her by the leg and licking her, and he's like, and don't think I wouldn't mind raping a dead girl. You know what I mean? It's like, holy shit. And then he dies because he was licking on her because she's poisoned from being a
That
poison
girl is
taster.
poisoned. Poison.
And that movie, Ninja Scroll, was just that was the movie that Akira was amazing. But Ninja Scroll made me know that I was a fan of anime.
Never trust a big butt and a smile.
See, now when I think of a song for Poison, I go to Alice Cooper's Poison.
Okay, that's a good choice.
No doubt.
Your lips are venom, your poison.
Yeah, but when I really like a movie, I don't watch it again. But if I find it entertaining visually, then I'll watch it again.
Well, this is what's interesting. I had a disagreement with a friend of mine. He said Fellowship of the Rings is the best of the Lord of the Rings. I always said Return of the King. But then over the years, I realized a movie, the more I love a movie, the more I find I'm always incorporating quotes from the movie in the everyday speech and things I do. And I realized the Fellowship of the Ring is probably my favorite of the Lord of the Rings films. And it's such a beautiful film. It's so innocent. It's the cinematography is just gorgeous. One of my favorite parts of all of that trilogy is when Gladriel, when he offers her the ring and she turns like dark and she's like, in place of a beautiful queen, you'd have a, whatever I can't remember the speech.
Instead of a dark lord, you'd have a queen, not beautiful, but terrifying, whatever it is. I don't remember.
That is like my favorite part. It's like, oh my God. And
Kate Blanchett is just so beautiful, it's ridiculous.
Perfect. That film, there's so much kindness and beauty in that film, and then to go from that point to Two Towers to Return of the King is such Tolkien.
Now
did a beautiful story.
Here's why I think that Two Towers is better than Return of the King. The battle at the end of Return of the King, it's too busy and filled with CGI. The Battle of Helm's Deep is a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah.
Especially
It is.
the end of the battle where Theoden and Aragorn ride out to fight. They ride out onto the rampart to fight, and Gandalf shows up on the ridge with the damn sunrise and all the Rohirrim to fucking come down the hill and wipe out the remaining orcs. Like, damn, brother. And when Aragorn's like telling Legolas, take out that one, you know, the one running with the bomb, and Legolas plugs him like 3 or 4 times, and he still keeps running. And they blow up the wall. I'm like, oh my god, dude! Helm's Deep is one of the best battles in fantasy ever.
Yeah,
it is. Oh god, there's so many parts. You know, it's weird because I've always said my entire life the original Star Wars trilogy, best trilogy ever, no questions asked. And then I saw Lord of the Rings and thinking about it, that may be the perfect trilogy. But then
I can't say that.
You're good. I know you're going to say Back to the Future. That makes me think
no. Back to the Future is not perfect either.
It's damn near close.
No,
the first film is perfect. The first.
Here's my problem with Lord of the Rings as a trilogy. Mm-hmm. Right now, and this is the reason why the Fellowship of the Rings might be the best of the 3. It's because in the Fellowship of the Rings, not only do you build the story and start the journey, right? And like, you know, you get a lot of emotional hits in that film. Like for example, when Frodo says, "I'll take the ring," the look on Gandalf's face, like when Gandalf, like, you know, he's like, you could tell Gandalf is like, oh God, boy, you don't know what you've just agreed to. You know what I mean? Right. Like, it's like, and then everyone stands up to go with Frodo and all that, and you get the Boromir's redemption, and you get Samwise refusing to let him go alone, and all of that. It's really fantastic. But the problem is, when you get into the Two Towers and Return of the King, the Sam, Frodo, and Gollum stuff is so slow. It drags the movie to a crawl.
A little bit, yeah. But the part where Frodo says that he'll take the ring, it makes me think. I guess it's from scripture, but it's like the least of us will be the greatest of us, you know. And it's like this little hobbit is showing more courage than all of us with our elf powers and our whatever, you know, wizard powers, and he's like the least of us, but he has got more courage in him.
Right. Like if I had to make a cinematic comparison to the courage of Frodo in that series, I would say Andrew Garfield's character in Hacksaw Ridge.
Yes. That was a fantastic film. Fantastic film.
Like the only time that man picks up a gun in that film is to drag another man off the field with it.
Yeah.
You know, that movie is spectacular.
How he didn't get an award for that, I don't understand, because he deserved it. But yeah, I mean, Lord of the Rings is just, it's so beautiful, and Peter Jackson just took such great care with the story, and you couldn't make those films like that's one of those trilogies you can never remake, and you can never make it now. I just feel like it'd be too much CGI. The CGI that still holds up in all of those films, you know, the care and they filmed them all, I think, back to back, or at least 2 of them were back to back. But
all right, here's a good question for the panel.
Sure. The last 2 back to back.
favorite franchise with more than a trilogy's worth of films.
With
Say that
more
again.
than a trilogy's worth
Alien.
of films.
Favorite franchise with more than 3 films.
Somebody's going to
Alien.
say Aliens. Yeah.
Terminator.
Terminator. Yes.
Yeah,
Even
for
the
me
bad ones, I
it's
love
for me it's Harry Potter.
Okay.
Wait, favorite
Me,
franchise with more than 3 films.
So
But it
wanted
has to be a
say
live action.
something about The Shining. I was
something from Tom Selleck,
a
right?
precocious. I was a precocious kid, and I read a lot. So by the time the movie came out, I had already read the novel The Shining, and I was a young
Wow.
boy. I mean, I was born in the late '60s. I'm 57. So I had already read The Shining, and when the movie came out, I was allowed to go and see it with my parents. For that reason, and also the reason that my real father designed the snowcat in that movie. Okay.
Oh,
He
wow.
designed the carriage, the tracks, the engine, the entire thing.
But there's only 2 movies in that franchise.
Technicality, right?
We were going back to a previous point because it's hard to get a word in sometimes.
Sorry.
And I was listening. No, it's okay.
Sorry.
No,
Please,
it's okay. I was
jump in.
more interested in what you were saying than interjecting my own. But
well, I wanted to ask you: how does the book compare to the Shining? How does that compare to the film? From you reading it, were you
significantly different? It's
different, better,
significantly
not as
different.
good? Okay.
I would
If
say
you want a book
that they're-
accurate like depiction of The Shining, you go for the one that Stephen King directed. Unfortunately, Stephen King's not the greatest director.
the Kubrick version stands as its own piece of art, and it's they're 2 separate pieces of art. That's how I view them.
That's a good way to look at it. Well, one of my favorite, probably my favorite Johnny Depp film was Secret Window, where he was Mort Rainey. Was he Mort Rainey? And yeah, where he was seeing the guy that wasn't there, and he buried his wife in the garden outside in the corn. Y'all remember that? He was a writer. It's good. I hope I didn't just give it away, but it's
I
a
do
good,
know the movie. I know the title,
yeah,
but I didn't see it.
It's a good watch. It's kind of like a in your head kind of movie.
See, now I don't know if you can consider this a Johnny Depp film or not, because Johnny Depp is in it, but he's not the main character. Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
That's.
I thought you were gonna say Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That was
No, he's not in that.
I know he's not. He's not.
I haven't watched that in a long ass time.
Once Upon a Time in Mexico is the 3rd installment in the Desperado trilogy with Antonio Banderas.
It was 2003.
And Johnny Depp plays an agent. And there's one scene in particular where they're in a restaurant. And Johnny Depp is talking about how the universe is about balance. And he's talking about the steak he's eating. This steak is so good that when we're done here, I'm gonna have to go in the kitchen and shoot the cook. Right? And they have their whole scene, and then sure enough, Johnny Depp leaves through the kitchen and he kills the cook on his way out. And then there's a scene later on where Johnny Depp has his eyes have been taken. He's lost his eyes in a fight.
Right.
And he has a gunfight while he's blind. It's brilliant. That movie's fantastic.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Easily the best of the Desperado trilogy.
The best.
The best.
It probably is. It probably is.
Didn't it have Selma Hayek in it?
It did.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, she was so good in that.
But, well, Robert Rodriguez used Selma Hayek. Like Robert Rodriguez, he has his group of people, and he puts them in everything. There's a lot of filmmakers like that. You know what I mean? Like, Adam Sandler uses the same 10 people in all of his films. You know what I'm saying? Robert Rodriguez is very similar like that. You know, Tarantino does similar stuff. He uses a lot of the same people.
Tarantino's bad about it.
Yeah. As
Same
Stray
with
says,
Star Trek.
Pirates of the
Did you
Caribbean.
notice that? Star Trek has all the same people time after time. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
that's why the new trilogy is so crappy.
New trilogy. I was
Like
talking
when
Star Trek, not Star
yeah,
Wars.
Oh,
The
sorry,
Calvin.
yeah, Star Trek. Okay,
That's what Abrams, J.J. Abrams.
no,
Well, the first two were Abrams. I think Beyond is a decent Star Trek film, and I think the other two are decent Star Wars films.
Yeah, I just
That's true.
I really
Good point.
like being in the moment of the sequel. Like what's going on in the screen is cool and all that at the moment. But when
Fucking
I
lens
look at the
flare.
overarching addition to the lore, it just was done in a haphazard way.
It's not.
Even
It's
if I
not deep
agree,
thinking.
even if I say, okay, I agree that this is the direction they should have taken. They should have had better writers and fucking different directors. Force Awakens was good. Last Jedi fucked with my Star Wars hero. My unborn son was named Luke. Okay,
Wow.
Luke. That name is important. Okay, it's a big, meaningful thing to me, and so they took Luke Skywalker and made him into something that he shouldn't have been. I kind of shut down after that. I was familiar with the clone stories of Palpatine. I'm not bothered by that. I just didn't feel like the lore was in tune with where Lucas had been headed. And so I was disappointed. On the other hand, I can enjoy the films in the moment.
Well, you're
Right?
one up on
Like
me
I
because
said
I can't
before.
enjoy them at all, man. I hate them.
Well, the
What I
thing
mean
about
is I'm easily impressed by space battles and lightsabers. So, you know,
The
you see
Rise of
that visceral
Skywalker
stuff.
is the worst thing that Star Wars has ever made, including the Acolyte.
Yep. I hated seeing Han Solo and Carrie Fisher. I hate seeing their roles. I hated their child. It was just the whole story was so shitty. It was just garbage.
Right.
and the thing
Dude,
was,
Right.
we lost the
J.J.
opportunity to see them
Abrams-
all together.
And J.J. Abrams was so mad at Rian Johnson for killing Luke that he had to kill Mark Hamill in his movie too. Because Mark Hamill voiced the alien that gets beheaded by Kylo Ren at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
You know,
I just really
and
had
talk about missed opportunities, right?
Yeah.
After Rey, like, you know, saves Ben or whatever, or turns him back to the light side, Han Solo shows up as a Force Ghost. I know it's not a Force Ghost. He's like, I'm a memory. Like, what kind of stupid garbage is that, right? And the thing is, you had a perfect opportunity because Rian Johnson established that if you force project yourself across the universe, it drains your energy to the point that you could die from it. Now, why not make it Leia that appears to him and have that be the reason she died?
Yeah.
Right? You established the shit. And on top of that, Abrams has never watched any Star Wars beyond the original trilogy, clearly.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't go along with the lore.
Fucking invented jetpacks on stormtroopers.
Me and Caveman used to joke about it when it came out. When the thing with Leia floating through space, he goes, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all," you know, from Guardians.
Well, there is that scene in A New Hope where there's a jetpack stormtrooper that it's like, I forgot. It's the scene where that ship is docking and you just barely see it out of the corner, on the corner, and yeah. So
when the Millennium Falcon arrives on the Death Star, there are 2 jet troopers outside standing on the Death Star trench wall in vacuum, and they
Right.
had
And
their
they,
rocket packs on.
yeah, and the
Right,
rocket
but
packs like
Abrams thinks he
changed.
invented it with that line.
Yeah.
They fly now. They fly now. It's like, dude, they've been flying for decades. You moron.
I know, and that's the kind of shit that I'm talking about. But in the
Right.
moment, what I'm talking about there is, you know, I like the lightsaber fights. I like the space battles. The dialogue sucks ass and that kind of shit. I hate Admiral Holdo. I hate
Oh, with
Van.
passion. The part where she,
And Kylo. I hate Kylo
yeah.
Ren. But none of that matters in the moment. The first time I saw Poe Dameron, he comes out of nowhere in his fucking X-wing and blows up 10 or more TIE fighters in about
It's
15
10. I
seconds.
counted. It's
And
a 10 fighter
I turned
strafing
to my
run.
wife. I turned to my wife and I was like, "Did you fucking see that?" I'm like, "That dude is force sensitive, right?
Yeah,
There's no
he
other
takes
fucking
down,
way to
and it's
explain."
not just the 10 TIE fighters, because he takes down exactly 10 TIE fighters and 10 stormtroopers on the ground.
Wow.
It's just astonishing. And you start out with that and you think, okay, maybe this trilogy is going to be great. And then fucking Force Awakens comes and you're like, oh my God, I'm embarrassed to be in this theater. You know, I'm
Oh,
still enjoying the moment. I'd love the Gorilla Walker fucking AT-ATs, ATMTs, whatever the fuck they are. The hardware designs, impeccable.
Yeah, the
And that's,
stormtroopers have never looked better than they did in the sequel trilogy. The
yeah,
First Order stormtroopers, what an amazing design. But
yeah.
and like even right down to the dropship, like when that dropship comes down in the Force Awakens and the stormtroopers spill out of it, like you even get the inside shot of the ship as it's landing, and all the stormtroopers are standing in the lines, like waiting to get off. Like it's brilliant, but oh man, they squandered
something
it.
that like
They
Abrams
did.
messed
But
up.
look at
Oh,
my
sorry.
ceiling, guys. I mean, I am preoccupied with shits. That's my thing.
Well, and that's the biggest
They're
problem with the Rise of
everywhere.
Skywalker,
Is the
right?
aspect
Because
ratio
you
of the
get
ships.
to that final battle when Lando shows up with everybody, and it's like, come on, man. Like, how are these ships not just crashing into each other? There's literally thousands of ships here. Like, it's so fucking dumb.
That fucking battle was so shitty.
Nobody filled the flight plan.
Right? And why are all these Star Destroyers coming up out of the ice?
Oh man,
that made no
so
sense.
much.
And the thing about the aspect, this is what Abrams did, like the aspect ratio. He did this in Star Trek with Eric Bana's character, the scimitar, and not the scimitar, that was a Nemesis. The other ship that was so incredibly, even the scimitar and Nemesis, but he didn't do that. But when the aspect ratio of the ships don't match up, like when the Enterprise and Nemesis, the scimitar comes out, it's this big. It's just like in the first Star, is it Into Darkness or the first Star Trek? Eric Bana, help me out. I think
the
it's
first
Eric.
one. It's 2009.
But the ship is so incredibly large. It's just like that's not how big. That you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like what he does with Star Killer Base. It's bigger than any moon. It can take out 5 or 6 planets at once. It draws its power from the sun. I mean, it drains the entire sun. The whole planet is a space station. You know what it would take to build that? How many decades upon decades to get all that material together to manufacture that, to put it all together? It's just, for me, it's just he doesn't get the size. Bigger is not better. It's
Right.
I guess what I'm getting at. It doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't get the lore.
A mining ship has the power to destroy a planet.
Yeah. And what about forces in space? They're riding on top of whatever those things are.
Oh God,
riding on top
man.
of
that
made no sense.
Yeah, that
Rise of Skywalker garbage.
Yeah, fuck.
And Leia was in space. How she didn't use the Force to Mary Poppins through. I guess she did, but She should have imploded or something, her skin or something weird happened. Something should have happened.
Oh, but she was in a coma for like 3 days after.
Yeah,
That
Oh my
explains it all
God.
away.
I think her feelings were hurt. That's why. But
That is so bad.
Dude needs to be kicked in the balls.
And then it's that there's that whole part of that movie where who is it who says like you can't deny your past and who you are, and at the end she's like, I'm a fucking Skywalker.
and they're like, Ray, who?
And it's
you're
like, what the fuck? Did you guys even read the goddamn script all the way through?
yeah. And then somebody, I saw a meme the other day, and the people said, Ray, I'm a Skywalker. And the lady says, who? She said, Ray Skywalker. And then they showed a J. Jonah Jameson where he's laughing. He goes, oh, you're serious? And just laughs really hard. So that's the fandom there. It's like, no, you're not. You're not a Skywalker.
And could Abrams have been more desperate to try and make us latch onto his shit and forget about everything else? Like Kylo Ren's whole character's dialogue was all based on it. But, you know, forget your past, kill it if you have to. Like, yeah, you're doing a good job of that, Abrams, you piece of shit.
Shit. Yeah. Well, Stray makes a good point. He said, Ray closing her eyes, and whoops, Kylo's trained ass. That's true. She's like,
I probably purposely forgot about that.
yeah, there's a lot we try to put behind us. The aluminum Vulcan. There you go.
Well, I saw Force Awakens twice. I saw it when it was new,
I saw
and
it
I
a couple
saw it
times.
again before I watched
Last
Last Jedi. And of course, I saw Rise of Skywalker, but I didn't even go to the theater for that. I bought the DVD because I was already like disillusioned. And
Well, the thing is, I'll give it for cinematography. I think Ryan Johnson made a beautiful looking film, but I hate what he did with it. You know,
right, like being in the moment, enjoying the
and any other
big-ass
character,
tanks.
yeah, any other character dying like that would have kind of been poetic and beautiful, I think. But the fact that it was Luke Skywalker, he goes out like a punk. Luke would have never gave up. That was his whole thing. He would have found a way, like Superman always finds a way to do the right thing.
Here's the fundamental problem with the reason for Kylo Ren turning to the dark side. You know, because Luke drew a lightsaber on him and whatever. Right there, it makes no sense because here's Luke, like, he totally believes there's good in his father, right? After his father's destroyed entire planets and slaughtered children and all that shit. And Luke's like, no, I can save him. But his own fucking nephew, before he turns evil, he's going to be like, oh, nope, I sense a little evil in him. Got to kill him. What?
Got to chop his fucking head off.
Yeah.
It's the biggest nonsense I've ever heard of in Star Wars. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, the original plan was for Kylo Ren to have the opposite of Vader's arc. He was actually going to get more evil as it went on through the 3 films. That's all they knew. And then they fixed it in the Reylo, you know, it had to become a thing and force heal people. And that's not a thing. It isn't in the lore.
Dude,
but
come on, man. Passing solid objects through space and time. Like, force projecting is one thing because you could, like, appear in someone else's mind. You could talk to someone through time, you know, through space, whatever. Like, the projection, I understand. I can forgive that. But handing him a fucking lightsaber?
Teleportation? Teleportation.
Yeah, that's fucking bullshit.
No, that's Star Trek.
I'm glad I didn't see that movie. I'm glad I did not see that movie. Yeah. I skipped the middle one.
Man, there's so many things to get mad at.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, like, I don't agree with people who say it ruined Star Wars for them because nothing can ruin the original trilogy for me. I'll always love the original trilogy.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can just ignore the garbage that came after.
I actually never took it as people saying it ruined it ruined that.
Well,
It
tons of
ruined them
people
from
said
that.
exactly that, though, Ed.
Well, I took it as it ruined from this point on. I agree. You can't ruin a memory that's that good. That's still
Okay, it
it's
didn't
there.
ruin Star Wars. It ruined the fandom.
It's
It
That I
ruined
can agree on.
Disney's
That I can agree.
reputation when it comes
yes,
to Disney in the fandom. It ruined the reputation of Star Wars, according to Disney, within the fandom.
yes,
Every
Right.
new
Well,
show
that's what
comes with
happens.
everyone saying this is probably gonna suck, right? Skeleton Crew came out, people liked it, people love Andor, but people hated Acolyte, people hated Book of Boba Fett, people hated Obi-Wan. And
I
really
liked
hated
it.
Obi-Wan and Acolyte, you know. And when people are like time after time spending that amount of time to look at these shows and say, God, these suck, right?
Right.
They're gonna move on and watch other things. There's so much
Right.
other media out there.
That's what's happened with
Well,
Marvel.
the problem is that the Kathleen Kennedy herself hates Star Wars fans.
That's true. That is true.
She does. She
Right?
does.
You can
She's
tell.
open about that.
She does
She's
not
And that's
like
You can
why
the
she
tell.
fandom.
hired Ryan Johnson, because Ryan Johnson made Last Jedi specifically to spit in the face of the fan base. He
That's what it
hated
felt.
Star Wars fans just as much as Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like you
She won't be
can't give
around
Star
forever.
Wars to someone who hates Star Wars.
Right. Well, we talked about that before. It's like
yeah.
you should have to love the material. If you're playing in that sandbox, there are rules in that sandbox. You can do some things, but you can't change a character that's been 40 plus years a certain way, like Luke Skywalker. You can't just all of a sudden make him a tree hugging hippie or something. I don't know. You can't go against their character. There's got to
Yeah,
be something that makes sense, and that just did not make sense from a narrative point of view. Luke
I mean,
Skywalker would never give up.
I never
Here's
wanted
the
to
thing
see
for me.
Carrie Fisher again, and then they put her in those movies, and it was like, God, why the fuck did you hire her back?
Here's
It's
the
like
well,
after
here's
her
the
Me
thing for
Too
me.
thing.
If you were going to bring back the original cast, there was one scene that I needed to happen in order to be satisfied in Force Awakens. I needed Han and Luke to have an interaction, and I needed it to be along the lines of, "How we doing? Same as always. That bad, huh?" Right? I needed that,
Yeah.
and you didn't even let
Yeah.
Luke see Han.
Right.
And Luke, not only did he not see Han, but he had detached himself from the Force so much that he didn't even know Han was dead.
And the thing is, though, that was the cardinal sin right there, to have those legacy characters and not have them together, at least in one scene. That is an unforgivable crime. That's something
Yeah.
that we'll never get in our lifetimes ever again, ever, because
Right.
Carrie Fisher died. And
Well, not
she
necessarily. we look, we're not going to get them together again with the original actors,
right.
but we could potentially, because the Mandalorian established, a younger Luke Skywalker, like still existing in that timeline. Han and Leia aren't dead yet there. There are, ways that you could recast the characters
Well,
and like
somebody
give
made
us
a
a little
good
more
point.
story with them. Like,
Someone made a
now
good point. They
keep
said,
in mind, I'm not asking for that. I'm just saying that it's possible.
Yeah.
like the world between worlds. I get that, but somebody made a point
No,
about
not even
this.
the world between worlds. Think about the time when Luke is training Grogu. Right? Han and
Okay.
Leia are both still alive, and they're still together at that point.
True.
Ben isn't even born yet.
Right. Right. But if you Star Wars just can't let go of the Skywalkers, and I think it's finally time. If Star Wars is to evolve, Ahsoka gave us the series gave us a way that we can go into other characters and explore different parts of the Force of Star Wars lore with beyond the Skywalkers. You know, I mean,
Right, but
yes,
there is a portion of the fan base that wants a little redemption for those original
true.
characters.
I've got no problem with redemption, but
And
I kind of just
I wouldn't mind seeing, like, let's say for example,
I don't
like
trust
they
Disney.
actually did like the Rangers of the Republic like show or whatever, where they do show about the you know, the fighter squadron for the New Republic or whatever.
Right.
You know, you could sneak in a scene where all, you know, with Han and Leia, you know what I mean, in there or whatever. You know, kind of the way they snuck R2 and C3PO into the hangar bay in Rogue One or whatever. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't make it about them, but at least give us, like, you know, a peek. You know, let us see them be happy at least once. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because, like, by the time they, you know, we end in Return of the Jedi and everybody's great. You know, everybody is fantastic. And then by the time we see them again, Han and Leia are divorced, their kids in the dark side, and Luke is a hermit.
Yeah.
Like,
Like what?
seriously? Did they just go from, like, bliss to fucking misery? And, like,
That's how life
we don't
works.
get any explanation to how that
They're
happened?
actually doing a Han Solo comic. I saw like the other day. I saw a thing about it, and it's gonna tell the story how Han lost the Millennium Falcon leading into the Force Awakens, and it's gonna explain that and have
They
Lando
Right,
in
but
there.
again, it's another, like, Han on a
Right.
down note. Like,
Exactly.
can't we just
Exactly.
get a little fucking happiness? Like, why does it all have to be misery?
Right.
right. They've been trying to explain the sequel trilogy in comics and literature ever since
Yeah.
those movies first started coming out. Because everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? You know, nobody understood anything. And
Right.
there's all these errors made. And so they keep like explaining things and shit like that in the comics. I hear about it all the time. I don't read comics anymore, but like,
Yeah.
you know, they'll say, oh, well, you know, they'll explain some character's motivation for what they did in the sequel trilogy in a comic or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whatever it is that the fan base is like, this is bullshit. Like transferring a lightsaber over light years through the force, right? They're trying to
Right.
explain that. So that goes right hand in hand with what you were just saying, Ed.
All right. So
Yeah.
if any of you guys were in charge of Star Wars, how would you treat it? Me first.
You
I
first.
would throw everything that has to do with Clone Wars and the sequel trilogy and all that stuff in the fucking trash. And I would start all over again in the Old Republic. And I would have new characters, and I wouldn't talk about any of that fucking bullshit ever again.
Okay. If you want to make me a Disney shill where I'm kissing everybody's ass at Disney, you get the Darth Plagueis book off of my shelf and you go word for word and you make me that movie with all the CGI and all the fun stuff you can do, and you give me that story of Darth Plagueis and Palpatine. I am there, bro. That's $1 billion movie sitting on a shelf. And I'm not talking about putting any or not Disney fine. I'm talking going word for damn word. You can use a little bit, but you know, going word for word is that's your outline. That's your Bible you have to follow by. And you make your
Make it
movie
R
off of that.
rated so you can elaborate on the fucking
Make
Sith
it
torture.
yes. Yeah. Show me that. Show me a Darth Vader. There's the Rise of Darth Vader, of Lord Vader. That book too. I don't know if that's also by Matthew Stover or I used to know my authors, but basically it shows Darth Vader, like year one Darth Vader, year two Darth Vader, kind of like that thing. Show me what Anakin had to go through after episode 3 between that and 4. Show me that. Show me the viciousness. There's a book where Sidious and Vader go to some planet on, and I have it packed up somewhere. One time I'll show it on the stream when I get it unpacked, but they go, and it's a very good read. And there's a lot of stuff there in the literature. It's right there, and they just gloss over it, and they want to Disneyfy it. No, give me what's written, and I'm there. Next.
All right, so here's mine. I want a Training Day-esque film about 2 stormtroopers. Right? One of them has completely embraced the Empire's like evil ways, and the other one's new to the Empire and still thinks he's on the good side, doesn't realize the Empire's evil yet. Right?
Okay.
And it's about the old stormtrooper showing the new stormtrooper the ropes, doing all this evil stormtrooper shit, and the new stormtrooper gradually realizing he doesn't agree with the Empire and winds up going against his partner in the end. No Jedi, no rebellion, just a stormtrooper story. Treated like a dramatic cop film.
Right. That could work.
I was really hoping for Heir to the Empire, etc. I wanted that trilogy for the last trilogy. And with a possible 4th movie going into the future, where you see what Prophet was saying earlier, where Han and Leia were married and happy with their children, and Luke had his Jedi temple, and it ends with a happy movie. Maybe some minor conflict regarding the wipe up of the final Imperial forces, but no big bad. Just kind of, focusing on the success, the vindication, the validation of Luke and his Jedi way, and the love of Princess Leia and Han, and the birth of their children, Jason and Jada, I think, and
Jaina.
I think there were
Jaina.
Jaina. And I think there were twins also later on.
Well, Jake and Jaina were twins, and the third one came later.
Okay.
Was it Jason or no? What was the third one?
I think it's
been a while
Jace and Jaina, and then the third kid is I can't remember what the third kid's name was.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since I read the books.
Jace is the one that turns to the dark side.
There's Mara Jade. That's who Luke was married to.
Mara Jade was sent to kill Luke by the Emperor and winds up falling for Luke instead.
Right.
And they're the one that give birth to Ben Solo, who winds up eventually becoming the leader of the Jedi.
Right.
Yeah. So it would have been nice to, get somewhere along in that storyline.
Right.
Yeah, there's literally only one scene in all of Rise of Skywalker that I would have liked to see expanded on, and that was Luke training Leia. Like when they did the flashback of Luke training Leia.
Yeah.
That would have been nice. Well, DFS said, I think you said something like Knights of the Old Republic, or were you alluding to that? I would love to see that. Hell, you could do a movie just on the Sith. All the different Sith that Darth Revan. There's other ones I can't even think of. Is it?
I want Star Wars without a lightsaber for a change. The best Star Wars we've gotten in the last decade has been like season 1 and 2 of Mando and Andor.
Yeah.
You know,
But
and Rogue
here's the
One's pretty
thing.
spectacular
The,
too. And there's
the,
no lightsabers in any of it.
the lightsaber, yes, that's true. You can have a Star Wars movie without sabers, but the saber is an ancient weapon, and it's been around for at least 25,000, 30,000 years in the galaxy.
Right.
So, I mean, it's if you're having stories about Jedi and Sith, they're going to involve lightsabers.
Well, but
Right,
that's what I'm
period.
saying.
Yeah.
Why Star Wars is a huge universe. Why does it always have to involve Jedi and Sith?
Right.
It doesn't, as you see clearly in Skeleton Crew.
Yeah.
And
Well,
in Andor.
I
And
saw a
in
report
Andor.
the other day that originally, instead of that Vader scene that we got in Rogue One, they were actually going to put him in the middle of the battle on Scarif, and he was going to just be going through lethally cutting people down with his lightsaber.
Look, the reason that I have no problem with that
I
Vader
like
scene in
either of
Rogue
them.
One
It's
is
so
because
fucking
it leads
awesome.
right into A New Hope.
Perfectly.
Right. Rogue
What-
One is my second favorite Star Wars film of all time.
I love Rogue One. Absolutely.
It goes
Maybe
Empire
so.
Strikes Back and then Rogue One.
I
It's
can't terribly
masterclass.
disagree. And honestly, I hold Revenge of the Sith much higher than most people do. It might be my third or fourth or fifth. You know, it definitely is the best of the prequels, obviously. It's,
I gotta show you guys a toy.
yeah.
I think an argument could be made for the Phantom Menace too, though.
All right. I don't know if my internet's gonna let you see this. It's my AT-ACT. It's
Sweet.
it's kind of remote controlled. You can do it through an app on your phone.
Oh, wow. I've got a BB-8 that somebody got me that's like remote.
That's cool. It's badass.
But that's
So you
neat.
can
Oh,
see
I'd
that
love to see
walker,
that, man.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the
You could
difference
see
between
the
that
walker.
walker and Ed's BB-8 is the walker's from a good movie.
You're right. You are correct. Yes, sir.
Well, so that walker
Yeah.
isn't a regular ATST. It has something else on the side of it.
Yeah, it's the walkers that were on Scarif in Rogue One.
AT-ACT.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's
I've only
it's
seen
an
Rogue One one time.
all-terrain armored cargo carrier or Argo. It's a cargo AT-AT.
Right.
So it has this like modular freight container in the middle
Right,
of it.
and
And
in the
it
movie
comes
they
out.
actually show one without the freight container on it, and it's kind of like a flatbed in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
that thing comes out of the toy over there and opens up, and you got little seats and shit inside. But the walker itself, I can push buttons on the top and it'll walk along. I can make it move its head and fire
That
little
is awesome.
I think they're Nerf darts, because Nerf for a while was integrated with Star Wars toys.
Interesting.
I think that's one of them. But yeah, that thing is cool as shit. I can slave it to my phone and app it so I can make it, walk without me actually being right next to it. It's I was like, that is a gotta have toy. First time I saw it, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I really like the AT-ATs. I love the Imperial hardware, period. I've got like 30 fucking TIE fighters of different types hanging from my ceiling and sitting on my shelves
I love the
in the
TIE fighter.
3.75
Oh,
line.
okay. Here you go. This is a question for you, Doug, and I'll give my answer before I get yours. Favorite TIE fighter? Mine is the TIE Defender. The one with the
Interceptor.
three
The most-
wings?
Yeah.
Hmm.
The most capable and most formidable fighter in the TIE fighter fleet is that ship. I like the look of the TIE bomber personally. So it's yes, that the Defender's got to be 1 or 2, but the TIE Bomber is right there with it in my like
For me, it's the Interceptor.
cool
What-
factor. Interceptors
Interceptor,
are
but-
great too.
Yeah. Well, are the TIE
Interceptors are
bombers less maneuverable? I would think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the TIE bomber can also have its bomb bay replaced with a troop carrying thing because the bomber can be used as a dropship as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah,
they
it's a
replace, they
multi-use
can basically
platform.
replace the ordnance section with a troop section that holds like 20 dudes.
Yeah, it's a multi-use platform. But really, it's not about the design in that regard. It's just the aesthetic of it. So I really love the Defender. The Defender is brilliant. And of course, when Return of the Jedi came out and we first saw the Interceptors, we were like, oh my God, we were just over the
Yeah.
moon. So yes, I
Yeah.
love the Interceptor. That's easily number 3.
Yeah, the
I really,
Interceptor is like
I
the
really
hot rod of
like,
TIE fighters.
yeah,
Yeah.
I really like the one in Rogue One, the Striker, and
I like
the
the
classic TIE
Inquisitor's
Fighter.
TIE Advanced from because in Rebels, the Inquisitor had a prototype TIE Advanced, which was
Yeah.
like the preamble to
Right,
Vader's TIE Fighter, which was a regular TIE Advanced.
Yeah,
TIE Advance was sick.
I've got 3.75 versions of those. I have a Rebel shelf, and that one's over there. The little folding wings.
Well, I played the miniature combat game X-Wing, and so I have like a lot of those shit.
X-Wing was
I have
Oh,
like
yeah.
3,000
Star Wars
points of
game.
Empire.
Jesus, very
that's
cool.
awesome. Hmm.
Yeah, the biggest ship I have is the Imperial. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's the Raider. It looks like a miniature Star Destroyer with TIE fighter foils like around it.
Hmm.
It's like a Corvette class Imperial ship.
Let me see.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
It's something about that bomber I've always liked. Some of my favorite planes in World War II are twin fuselage, like this glider tug. Okay.
Oh yeah.
This is a World War II German glider towing airplane. And they took 2 twin engine bombers and combined them with a center section wing that added an engine, kept the whole frame stable, and it towed something called the 323 Gigant, which was the largest plane in World War II. It was a wood and fabric, predominantly glider, and then eventually became a powered plane unto itself.
Huh.
Because towing a glider that large is very awkward and dangerous. Even with that Zwilling is what it's called, that twin fuselage plane I just showed you. But that kind of shit just has always rung my bell. I've got several twin fuselage World War II models, a P-51.
And I just shared a screen there.
Oh, sorry.
So this is the Raider.
Oh, hell yeah, that's cool.
Now, this
That
is
is
about
pretty
the
cool.
same size as the Tantive 4,
All right.
right?
Okay.
Like it's the Imperial equivalent
Corvette.
of the Tantive. But if you
Yeah,
look
it's a
at this
Corvette.
thing, you see it has like the TIE fighter type foils on it, right?
Right.
And
Exactly.
they're
Which
on
are
the
like-
underside as well.
Those
It's
are
very
like solar
armed.
panels.
You see the missile
Correct.
pods all over it, right? The bridge is up here. But yeah, this ship is awesome.
Yeah, I like that design.
Yeah, it's like a miniature Star Destroyer.
Yeah. But those are like on the TIE fighter. Those are like essentially solar panels, right?
That's what I always thought they were.
That's what I thought they were on the because I know it's an ion engine. And,
Right. Well, those the foils, they're meant to absorb the ions, like in the cosmic ions, and they're like basically converted into energy for the ship.
Okay.
It powers the shields and the motors. It does not power the weapons.
Is that Vader's? No. Oh no,
Yeah.
That is Vader's. Okay, because it's got the blade.
This is the executor.
Executor. That's it.
I thought it was the
There
executor.
was an electronic line that came with stands like this. There's a Star Destroyer.
Is it the executor or the executor?
Maybe it's the executor.
It's the executor.
Executor. Okay. Yeah.
That's basically a city.
Yeah, it's 25 miles long.
But
a flying city is what that is.
Yeah, and remember when it crashed, they skipped to the part where it's crashing into the Death Star, and it just like kind of
it kind of jackknifes into the Death Star.
Yeah, I didn't love that. I didn't love that visual.
Now I will say the way that was done better was in Rogue One, when the Hammerhead pushes the dead in the water Star Destroyer into the other one.
That was
and they crash into the shield gate. In my opinion, Rogue One is the best space battle in all of Star Wars.
Huh. Yeah, I've only seen it one time, so I know I liked it.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember like when it came out, like people were like, well, how's a little ship like that supposed to push a Star Destroyer? It's like, dude, the Star Destroyer had gotten hit with an ion cannon. It was dead in the water.
Right.
A tiny little tugboat can push a cruise ship. Why is this like something that like you can't fathom? It doesn't make sense.
And there's not like gravity or anything. There's kind of free floating.
Right. There's zero friction. Zero.
Right.
There's no friction.
There's no friction, baby.
There's no resistance whatsoever. Yeah, there's the Tantive 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is electronic. All the engines light up and it makes noise.
Nice.
Same with that.
Nice.
Same with that executor. Executor. And then
like every time I see the Tantive 4 now, all I hear is that rebel trooper like who just got the plans in his hands going, launch!
Right. And then the regular Star Destroyer is up there.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh shoot.
Nice.
That's
again electric. I'm sorry.
Star Destroyer is such a great design.
Absolutely.
Like it does not get enough credit for being the amazing design that it is.
No doubt. And all three of those, like I said, they were in a line or in a small group of starships released in the 90s. And they're all electronic and make sounds. There's 4 buttons on each. Of course, I don't have batteries in them right now.
Do you have a Gazanti class cruiser?
I doubt it. What's that?
All right, so the Gazanti class. You know what? I'm just going to bring up a picture.
Okay.
Picture time.
Picture time.
I do have a model Star Destroyer that's exactly the same size as that electronic toy. It was like an NPC model or something like that.
See, because what's really cool about the Gazanti is that it can bring, like, TIE fighters can dock underneath it, and it can bring TIE fighters through hyperspace.
Huh. Okay, I know what you mean, but that's a Clone Wars ship.
No, that's an Imperial ship. Rebels is where it was most predominantly
You're
used.
thinking about like when Obi-Wan went into that ring to and what was it? What was that? That was in the second one, Attack of the
Yeah.
Clones. Yeah,
Jack of the Clones.
that's still a badass scene. Like that. What was the thing that had the delayed reaction?
All right, so I just put up the Gazanti if you want to show that.
That
Ed.
blew up the asteroids in there. Oh yeah. I was trying to think where that charge,
There's a
seismic
charge.
charge or something.
Yeah.
See, now
Okay,
there's
yeah,
the
that was in
Gazanti.
Rebels.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a Rebel.
And the TIE fighters, you can see here, they it can carry 4 TIE fighters or TIE bombers.
That is awesome.
Because
I
they're
forgot
the
about that
TIE
shit.
fighters that don't have their own hyperdrives.
Yeah.
And basically they dock to the Gazanti, and then the Gazanti can go through hyperspace and drop them off somewhere.
You know, probably the only line that's made that ship is your game line.
My shit's
It's
gonna
certainly
die.
not in the Micro Galaxy Squadron yet.
Oh yeah.
Well, you see the size of it. It might be a little too big for the Micro Galaxy.
Yeah, probably. So,
But
you know, it
yeah, because
certainly would
you
not
can
be.
see here, like there's the bridge,
Yeah, it'd be a
right?
pretty
And this
premium
bridge
ship.
is huge. Like this is like
Yeah.
you know, if you're inside the ship, it's like
right.
you know, probably the size of like, you know, close to a Star Destroyer's bridge.
Yeah.
That thing's like the size bigger than the Ghost, right?
Yeah, this is bigger than the Ghost. I would say the Ghost might be
Definitely.
the same width, but this is like twice as long.
Yeah.
I really love the
Yeah, it
Ghost
appears.
ship.
You know, the thing with those ships I showed you, they never made anything like that before or since that I'm aware of.
Wow.
Okay. You know, everything else I've seen has been like 3.75. Obviously, there's a very few Black Series ships, but you know, Hot Wheels and Action Fleet by Galoob and the game that you play, Prophet, and
X-Wing.
yeah,
Yeah, see,
and
that's
then
the great thing about the miniature combat games for Star Wars, because there's 3 different scales from the same company. You've got Legion, which is the same scale as like Warhammer. So you get, you know, you're like actual troops, and they have some tanks and stuff for it, and you know, ATST walkers and things like that.
yeah,
Then you've got X-Wing, which is like fighter combat scale, but then you have Armada, and that's like Star Destroyers versus like big Mon Calamari ships and stuff like that.
yeah.
So 3 different scales, huh? That's kind of cool.
That's interesting.
You know, and you're limited in 375. Pretty much the biggest stuff they've managed to accomplish is the sail barge, which is still under scale, the Ghost, which is still under scale, and Razor Crest, which is, I would say, pretty close, but still under scale. So, I mean,
Well, I would also
you know,
say that deluxe Millennium Falcon they released in the like early 2010s,
yeah.
like that's pretty
And then,
close.
yeah, and here's the modern version, the Smuggler's Run.
Oops.
Hell yeah.
Right. Well, is that
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's like the reproduction of like the Kenner one, right?
This
Yeah,
is
so
the
that's
vintage.
still under scale.
No, that's the same as the Legacy version.
Oh, okay, yeah, because that legacy version's awesome.
Yeah. In fact, that thing has 2 electronic settings. One that duplicates the legacy sounds and everything, and then you switch it over, and it'll become the Smuggler's Run thing with
badass.
Hondo and all of the Disney crap. So it's like 2 ships in one. You can have a round radar dish, or you can have a square one.
Yeah, I would
On that
never put the
model.
square one on it because that's for a terrible trilogy.
Yeah, me too. But that one I keep in the box because I have 2 legacies over there in my cabinet. I just don't have them displayed right now. One of them
Yeah,
is
that Legacy Millennium Falcon, it's probably my favorite 3.75-inch toy.
yeah, absolutely. It's fucking so fun. And this thing would be cool as shit to see in like a model form or something.
Right, like this would be it, like if they made this like in your electronic ships, like this would be about maybe a little bit smaller than your Tantive 4.
Right. It would fit right in with the line, but like I said, those things were made before. I mean, they were made in the mid '90s.
Right
and
now,
then
did they
nothing
ever
is
make the medical frigate, the ship that the Millennium Falcons docked to at the end of Empire?
no.
Oh yeah,
That's a cool ship too.
I've seen that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
I've
badass.
seen. I think I might have seen it in Galoob Micro Machines, the itty bitty
Oh
ones.
yeah,
Oh, all right.
Okay. All right. So,
Okay.
but I mean, I hesitate to even count those. So certainly, there's been a version made, whether it's die-cast Hot Wheels or something, or the plastic Galoob shit.
Right.
But
Because
yeah,
that medical frigate is like probably 30% bigger than the Tantive 4.
yeah, it's quite large. I mean, the Millennium Falcon can easily dock amidships. So
Right. Well, there's that scene at the end of Empire Strikes Back where the Falcon is docked underneath the medical frigate before
yeah,
Lando and Chewie go off to go look for Han.
right.
yeah. This is one of those new Hot Wheel line,
Um,
you know.
oh yeah. I know
Okay.
what you're talking about.
And this is the Star Destroyer that Thrawn owns.
Oh,
So
cool.
this is the Ahsoka version of Thrawn's Star Destroyer.
Now,
And
that right
I
there
would see,
that's about Armada scale.
and I could see Hot Wheels making a version of that carrier.
Right.
But I
They
couldn't see
could never
anything.
make that in X-Wing because, in X-Wing, you play on a 3-foot by 3-foot board or a 3-foot by 6-foot board. Right. Now, if you were to make a Star Destroyer, it wouldn't even fit on the board. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, there's limitations, It's why
Right.
there's so many different scales and lines. I've got you guys remember the titanium series Galoob stuff, which was Micro Machines.
Yeah.
There are two
Yeah.
series. There was one that was about 1/72 scale, like fighter plane size, and then the small ones that were more like a Hot Wheels car size, right?
Right.
Like I got a couple over there. Like I've got Queen Amidala's Starship in Attack of the Clones, the one that's all chrome with 4 engines, looks like a flying wing.
Mhm.
But I've got her other Royal Starship playset in 375, and that sucker is like 3.5 feet long. So it's kind of like, what do they choose? They can approximate some of the mid-scale ships. Can even put together a pretty decent approximation of a Tantive 4 play set if they wanted to, but nothing larger. I just wouldn't be able to do it in 375.
Right. Well,
That would
even
be,
in 375, the Tantive 4 would be bigger than the USS Flag.
yeah, you couldn't even come close to scale. It would have to be a play set. Like,
Right. And they did a playset for the Tantive 4 and 375. It was just the hallway.
right.
At the beginning of Star Wars, where Vader and the Stormtroopers come in and fight the rebels, like they made that hallway and they made it linkable. So, like, if you bought multiples, you could like extend the hallway or, because the way it comes, you get like half the hallway, right? So you're getting
Yeah.
like a cross section. But the way they
Right.
built it, if you got two of them and put them, you know, parallel to one another, you could make the hallway where you could put a camera at one end and you'd have both sides of it. Like you'd have the walls of it on
Mm-hmm.
both sides, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So if you bought, like, let's say you bought 4 of them, you could make a nice long hallway, you know, and get a
Right.
shot like from behind the stormtroopers, like with the rebels at the other end of the corridor getting shot down.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That'd be cool as hell. I mean,
That
And
would
they
be
did a
neat.
similar one for oh, actually, you know what? The Gazanti that I showed earlier, that ship was in live action. It was in Mando season 2. It's the ship that Luke's X-wing comes onto to get Grogu.
Oh,
It's the ship that they take
yeah.
from John what's his name? Giancarlo Esposito.
okay.
Right? You remember the Mando
Yes.
helped them take the ship? The
Yeah.
ship that Mando helped Bo-Katan take was a Gazanti.
Oh,
Gotcha.
cool.
And that's cool as fuck. But again, it's out of the limits of 375. It
Oh,
would have to
100%.
be, you know,
But they also they made a hallway playset for that ship as well.
they made a Lego set for that too, for that hallway.
Right,
But,
right.
yeah.
See, now that's the thing. Like, I'm glad they made the hallway set, but can you make us a bridge set? Can you make us a hangar base set? You know what I mean? Allow us to like build, you know, an adventure inside the ship. I know you can't give us the ship because it
No.
wouldn't fit in your house, but give us the parts to, like, you know, display an adventure.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Part of what went on over the last decade is the Disney Hasbro collab during the you know, sequel trilogy and Han Solo and uh Rogue One. Those toys came out. The figures were all mostly 5 POA. Vintage collection wasn't really going on. And you know, they ended up with really subpar toys. And it kind of shifted the 3.75 collectors away from buying play sets, and like the BB-8 play set, not very popular. I have one, I like it, but
Yeah.
I'm an exception. You know, now we're coming back into a new time where the vintage collection is relatively strong. It's not real strong, but it's relatively strong
Yeah,
compared to
it's
10
like
years
shifting
ago.
because Black
Yeah,
Series was like super popular for a long time, and now it's shifting back to vintage collection with Star Wars because they're giving us stuff like, you know, the bar playset from the end of Mando season 1. You know,
yeah,
they're giving us the Tantive hallway. They're giving us Jabba's sail barge. You know, they're giving us the
right.
Ghost.
They've started to make these play sets again, and they're being bought. And so
Right.
the
And
market
they're
is close.
starting to give us the ships again, too. Did you see the Vader's TIE fighter they just put out?
Yeah,
Like, that ship
yeah,
looks
for
incredible.
sure. It does.
I
So,
mean, and they're
it's
all
good to
a
see.
huge step up from the old Power of the Force stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's really good to see that it's not dying out, because it really was struggling hard with some of the crap that Disney was putting out in the 2015 to 2020 period.
Yeah.
Just
Right. Well, they were
some of the most,
very focused on Black Series at that point. You know, we were barely getting any 3.75 stuff.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And again, part of it was that Disney had like commissioned Hasbro to make crap. Let me go and get my fucking Force Awakens Millennium Falcon. Have you guys seen one of
I
those?
saw
Let me
one. I remember
It's-
the square
It's-
dish. I remember it being like smaller than the Kenner one, if I recall.
It's trash. I got one right over here.
Yeah, that's why the Legacy Collection Millennium Falcon's the best. I mean, you can actually fit 4 people in the cockpit.
All right. So it is about the same size as the one that we grew up with. All right.
Yeah.
But look at this landing gear. It's molded into the body.
God,
Okay?
Oh, that's weird.
There's
that's
there's
awful.
no ramp.
Yeah, I
Okay,
hate
there's
that.
no ramp. It is got a Nerf thing. Okay.
Weird.
It has some little gadgety type movie things. You can open it up, I think. Been a while since I fidgeted with it.
Yeah, that actually looks smaller than the Kenner one.
You know, the plastic when you feel that gummy, oily, cheap plastic feel, that's what this whole thing feels like. Okay. It feels like it's gonna warp if it gets warm or
I
if
mean,
it
can you
gets too
even put a
cold.
figure in the cockpit?
Yeah.
That bottom just looks so weird.
Oh,
Oh, that's cool.
God.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole fucking thing is weird. It's just
odd.
fucking weird. How does this
Dude,
thing?
and the cargo hauler in the front looks awful. It doesn't look like it's finished.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hardly ever fidget with this thing, so I can't show you its features, but they're certainly not very impressive. I'll say that.
I think
You
there's
know, the
only
no
one way to
landing
properly
gear.
fidget with that thing. You like get it
Yeah,
in your hand like you're flying like a little kid would, like with flying it, and you go straight into the trash can with it.
yeah, it's the kind of thing that you buy for an 8-year-old or a 6-year-old.
You know, I
You
have
know?
to say, one of the worst Power of the Force ships was Dash Rendar's Outrider.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. I got
Like,
one right
why
here.
did they make that thing function like a B-Wing?
I don't know, man.
Like, it's supposed to be like a YT. It's like a, what is it, a YT 2400?
Yeah,
It's supposed to function like the Falcon, and instead, it's like this like goofy fighter. Yeah, what the hell is that trash?
Yeah.
yeah,
And on top of that,
yeah,
Dash didn't even fit in the cockpit.
yeah. Very poorly.
Well, you'd
I'm
have
trying
to
to
take his
think.
backpack off to get him
I'm
in
trying
there.
to think what the advantage of that whole thing swinging up like that would even be in space. Why would you need that? Why? And how does that fit
I don't
into
know.
anywhere? It was a
Yeah,
weird
that is
design.
like a horrible rendition of the ship.
Yeah, but this is old school. It's more playable. Okay, you got landing gear that goes up and down. Your doohickey, your cockpit opens. You know, when you when you open it and move it, um, you know it feels stout. It doesn't feel mushy. Doesn't feel like it's gonna break. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though it's a cheesy ass toy, not a great one.
See,
It's
now
built well.
if they did a vintage collection version of that ship and made it like the size of the Kenner Millennium Falcon and gave it some similar features, like
Yeah.
that would be a really dope ship.
Yeah. Hey guys, it's about 10 after 3 here my time.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna have
getting
to
late.
kind of wrap it up because I got some stuff to do tomorrow too. But
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah,
I got
I
to
want to
work in the
thank y'all for
morning as
being
well.
here. Yeah, I want to thank DFS for being on here. We lost him at some point there, and Astray and Seth are in the chat here. Appreciate y'all all being here. Everybody showed up for the after show. We had a wild time on Kaz and Bruce's
Yeah.
stream tonight.
Yeah, the AI shit
And,
was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was pretty
Mm.
cool. We'll have
I
to
had a
do
good
that
time
again.
over here too.
Yeah. Thank you guys for being here. And yeah, I am tired. I've been tanked up on so much caffeine today, so that's how I made it this far. But
Yeah, I had
my
a good
engine's
time
running
shredding
out.
Star Wars with you guys.
Yeah,
Right
yeah.
on,
This
dude.
is anytime. So thank you everybody for listening. Thumbs up, all that good stuff, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I guess we'll see you guys later. So thank you.
Good night, Prophet. Good
Everybody.
Have a
night,
great
Ed.
night,
Good night,
Good
fellas.
night.
chat.
Good night. All right. Bye.